Thanks so much for joining us on Morning Live Sport. Here are your headlines. Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates will yet again revive their rivalry as they will be fighting for the Nedbank Cup trophy at the Moses Mabhida Stadium today. This game comes just a week after their league match at FNB Stadium where Orlando Pirates won 2-1. However, the results of last week will not have any impact, or perhaps little impact, in today's game, as Amakhosi will be looking to end their 10-year trophy drought. Meanwhile, Orlando Pirates will be looking to add another trophy of the season, and that's as they've already won. In fact, we're dropping our headlines and we're going straight into our interview to talk about this match and also to discuss some of the permutations for today. We are joined by former Kaizer Chiefs assistant coach, and he's also founded the Stars of Africa Football Academy, coach Farouk Khan. It's so awesome to chat to you, and I think it's timely because we've been discussing in the media of late the young blood that Orlando Pirates has, but I think Kaizer Chiefs has actually done the same thing, coach. And you know, you were also in charge of the academy side. When I chatted to former legend and current legend and former player and coach Tebogo Moloi, he was saying that a lot of people don't understand the weight and the pressure that is on these youngsters when it comes to a Soweto derby. So given the fact that they're coming from a loss into this match, what do you think is the current mood? What do you think Coach Nabi is saying to them to encourage them, particularly these youngsters, and knowing that you've worked with these type of youngsters as well?
Well, I think it's a motivation on its own. Just playing in a derby is so huge for any player. You know, during the time when we were Chiefs, players really look forward to these type of games. These are games that can determine your future, your legendary status, because this is what legends are made of.
Of course.
So I think the coach himself is possibly going to try and motivate, but the motivation comes from within the players. Everybody will be so motivated to play in this fantastic occasion that's taking place in South Africa. I think it's amongst the biggest in the world, if not.
Yeah, it definitely is. We chatted to Tumile Nkune, and you know, one of the points that I brought up with him is that over the past couple of weeks, people have been talking about Chiefs' defense, the fact that it's leaking there. It's probably not as solid as it should be. 31 goals with now 33 goals conceded in the league. It's very different though when it comes to trophy titles because they're such a successful club. However, they've had this drought for 10 years. How do they reconcile that actually? What are your thoughts in terms of what they need to do today from the back forward?
Well, you know, the back four is going to change dramatically. I think Miguel is going to come into the defense. The defense is going to be a bit more solid than what it was in the last outing. But in saying that, your defense doesn't start with the back four. Your defense starts with your players up front. When possession is lost, your ability to counter press and win possession high up the field is essential. So we always say, when your defense starts with your number 9 and it ends with your number 1. Your build-up play starts with your number 1 and it finishes with your number 9. So football is much more collective in the sense that you defend as a team and you attack as a team.
Yeah.
So that is what Chiefs need to do today. You know, playing against a very, very formidable team. I just looked at the team that played in midweek, Orlando Pirates, and you'll see significantly many changes coming into this game. You know, Shine didn't play, Kota didn't play, Rele didn't play. So these players have rested for this particular encounter. So it's going to be a fantastic game. But like with all cup finals, there's no favorites. On the day, the team that wants it more, the team that rises to the occasion, the team that makes less mistakes, will obviously be the victors to this afternoon.
Well, when we looked at the press conference, Coach Mandla was saying that he doesn't believe they have an advantage coming in. And then Coach Cedric said he believes all the pressure is going to be on Orlando Pirates. But obviously, you know, they do need the silverware because they're languishing in the bottom of the log, or at least mid-log, and they need to get into the top 8 as well. I would think then that all the pressure is on Kaizer Chiefs. Your thoughts?
Not really. I think when you look at it, the pressure is obviously on the favorites because Kaizer Chiefs are coming into this game as underdogs.
Yeah.
You just mentioned their poor performance in the league as well as, the last encounter they had. They haven't won any silverware, so there's a tremendous amount of pressure. This is where leadership has to come in. This is where the likes of Itumeleng Nkune in the past, the likes of Dr. Kumalo, the likes of Thabo Moki. The list is endless of leaders that Kaizer Chiefs had. This afternoon, there has to be players that have to step up. I think Miguel will come in, will add a bit to that leadership. You have Martin in midfield. Sereno is another key player. But in saying that, they have to ensure that the players around them rally around their leadership. Because in a game like this, it's a game of percentages. It's a game of small percentages where you make a mistake, like we saw in the semi-final against Sundowns, where Sundowns made a critical error after leading 1-0, and then Kaizer Chiefs went on to win that encounter. So this is what it's all about. You know, Sundowns were obviously the better team, but they didn't win the match. The better team, in the end of the day, is the team that puts the goals in the back of the net to go through to the next round, which was Kaizer Chiefs.
You'd speak about errors, though. I mean, many of the fans are putting pressure on young Vilakazi, saying that his error is what led to that equalizer. What do you think the coach and the team is going to do to maybe bring him back psychologically for this match?
Well, I think, you know, younger players will always make mistakes, but mistakes is what you learn from. Mistakes is what you build your future on. So I think we need to protect these youngsters. You know, nobody makes a mistake. And again, you've got to ask the question. Fans will say it was Vilakazi. The question is, who was covering Vilakazi at the time? So he's an attacking player. He's allowed to make those errors high up the field. But if, for example, he makes a mistake, where is the defensive cover? Where is the rest defense that will protect him? So I don't think you could blame Vilakazi or any of the players for the defeat.
In fact, I think it was Chabalala, coach, sorry to correct myself there, but I think the point that you're making is correct, is that you can't lay blame or you can't point the picture on any particular player. I just want to quickly jump to the fact that, you know, what you're doing in Stars of Africa, Maswangani is one of your stars. How did you coach him and how did you train him to handle the have the big match temperament for something like a Soweto derby that he's then probably pass on to young players like Rele, for example?
Well, you know, training is not just about what you do on the field, it's what you do outside the field. It's about how you develop these players psychologically. Part of my development is constantly to give them examples and to ensure that there's practical exercises that we do to develop mental toughness. Mental toughness is something that needs to be taught to our players. You know, we don't want to become the chokers of this world. We're doing very well in Africa now with the under-20s. The under-70s have qualified. But there's one area that really worries me is mental toughness. When the going gets tough, can we rise to the occasion? And I think this is what we constantly did. It's not only with Masangwane. Kabelo Dlamini is another player at Orlando Pirates.
Yes.
The list is endless. If you look at May Matlango, Tokelo Ranti, all of these players have proven beyond a doubt that when the going gets tough, they can rise to the occasion. And that is just something that is part of our training. And I've been very fortunate in that regard, that I've coached in the PSL, and I know what is expected at that level. So it's easy for me to transfer that experience and knowledge to them. It's not often that you have coaches that are coaching youth that have coached in the PSL. So I think I have a bit of an unfair advantage that I use very effectively with my young players.
No, and that's exactly why I wanted to pick your brain. I think it's not just an unfair advantage, it's a unique advantage and it's valuable insight. Given the fact that we are saying we need more development players in the main squads, we need to lead these squads with young blood to make sure that they've done what Coach Rivera has actually been able to achieve. I do have to let you go though, so I need to push you for a prediction, of course. It wouldn't be normal if I didn't ask you, what do you think is going to happen today?
I can see the shirt you're wearing, but you know, as we always say, Kosi for life. I believe, even though my two sons, Kabelo and Patrick Masangwane, won't like what I'm going to say, but I think Kaizer Chiefs is going to win this one 2-1.
Well, they love you nonetheless, so we understand. Don't worry. Thank you so much for chatting to us, Coach. It's always a pleasure.
A pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Have a fantastic one.
All the best. We were chatting to former Kaizer Chiefs assistant coach, and he's also the founder of the Stars of Africa Football Academy, Coach Farouk Khan. He's given his prediction. He thinks it's going to go in the direction of Kaizer Chiefs. Well, there you have it from me, Stacey Holland, for the sports for this hour. And we're going to hand over to Liesel. She's looking at the question of the day, which is still football related anyway.